Well, welcome to another edition of Film School with Dr. Joe Fortunato, film study professor, each Friday here on WAKR. Joe takes time out of his busy schedule to join us on the morning show. And today, boy, it's been the talk of the town lately, and we know why. But Joe's going to go back and look at really a smash hit movie. And Joe, why don't you take it from there?
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, today's a little bit different. Usually my sort of internal rule when I say what is a classic for our segment, I usually think of something 25 years old or older. But this one is 20 years old, so it's pretty close, but it's worth it because today we're going to look at the original, The Devil Wears Prada from 2006. And of course, the new sequel to the film is coming out this weekend. I know a lot of people are very excited about it. They're going to go out and see it. So I said, hey, let's go back in time and look at the original, because I'm going to assume a lot of people are going to pull that one off their shelves or streaming apparatus and take a look at that as well. So it was released in June of 2006, so it is a 20-year anniversary this year. Directed by David Frankel, written by Aileen Brash McKenna, based on the novel by Lauren Weisberger. It stars Anne Hathaway, the great Meryl Streep, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci. It was nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Best Actress for Streep and the other for costume design. And it was a very, very big hit. And the fact that we're making a sequel 20 years later kind of attests to its timeliness, or timelessness, I guess is the proper word. The cast includes 2 Oscar winners, that's Hathaway and Streep, and 2 Oscar nominees, Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci. The original screenplay was developed before the novel was published, and it had 4 credited writers, but it read as a spoof of the fashion industry, more similar to something like Zoolander. So folks who know that film, Zoolander, this one was going to be more of a spoof like that. But when the novel became a bestseller, director David Frankel came on board, and he changed the script to be something about striving for excellence and personal sacrifices in your career, which is, the themes of the movie as we know it now. The novel was very successful, sold over 1 million copies. Spent 10 weeks at #1 and spent a year on the New York Times bestseller list. So that's the perfect kind of thing that Hollywood likes to make a movie about. On the first day of filming, Meryl Streep, who is, of course, very great and a very generous actor, she told Anne Hathaway, "I think you're perfect for the role. I'm so happy we're going to be working together." Then she paused, followed it up with, "And that's the last nice thing I'm going to say to you." And it was. And she went back into her character. In fact, it was Meryl Streep who actually recommended Anne Hathaway, because Hathaway at the time had really done more children's movies, Princess Diaries, things like that. So it took some convincing to bring her on board in this more adult role.
Well, Joe, I think and that's where I was going to go when you were going to take that pause there. I thought for Anne Hathaway, it was a newer type of role, but also for Meryl Streep. And you go to this movie, I thought it was a new kind of a different role for her as well.
Yeah, one of my complaints about Meryl Streep over there is I can't deny her talent. I mean, that would be silly, but I was always say, oh, yeah, we'll do comedy, then I'll believe in your greatness. And of course, this is one of her earlier few comedy roles. And even though she's sort of playing it straight, she really does nail it. Talking about casting while we're on the subject, going back to the Andy character that went to Anne Hathaway, Rachel McAdams was actually offered the role and turned it down. Some other names that were considered at the time, Kate Hudson, Claire Danes, Scarlett Johansson, all of them kind of considered for that role that eventually, as we said, went to Anne Hathaway. Stanley Tucci joined the cast just a weekend before his first scene, so he was sort of late. Another person that was considered for that role was Irish talk show host Graham Norton, who had auditioned for the part. And what's kind of odd about the Miranda Priestly, there was a lot of younger actresses that were up for that role before it went to Meryl Streep. Not that she was old at the time, but the character sort of reads a little older. Originally, one of the people that was more age appropriate was Glenn Close. And Glenn Close said, "I'm sick of being typecast by playing villainous roles." So that's where they chose Meryl Streep for the role.
Yeah, and she knocked it out of the park. As you mentioned, it's going to be interesting how this translates, the new one, because it's speaking to a new generation. But this movie had a little bit of everything, right? It had office intrigue. And as you mentioned, it's really funny and also growing up inside the office like Anne Hathaway did.
Well, I'll just say, a little bit of backstory.
Sure.
I think most people kind of know this, but this movie is sort of loosely based on Anna Wintour, who is the editor of Vogue and one of the most important people, if not the most important person in the fashion world. And everybody involved in this film was afraid of Anna Wintour. Just making the film, they had a hard time finding offices to film in, that because the industry was so afraid of, oh my gosh, what's Anna going to say? And so she didn't even see it until a public screening, after the fact. And by reports says that she did like the film, but it was kind of crazy how all the production was sometimes ground to a halt because they couldn't get things for fear of Anna Wintour.
That's interesting. Again, The Devil Wears Prada. And of course, Joe, with you in the industry, have you heard anything at all about the new one that's opening up this weekend? Have you heard anything?
There's a lot of excitement. I think people are excited. I think it's going to do very well. I haven't heard any reviews of the quality of the film, but these are pros, and they got the band back together, as the saying goes. So let's hope it's as good as the first, or it's enjoyed by as many people.
Dr. Joe Fortunato taking us to film school on Friday afternoons. Joe, anything going on at your website or with you that you'd like to clue in my listeners to?
Well, I just always want to remind people to go to my website, joefortunato.net, bookmark that, check it every once in a while to see what's going on in my world. I don't have any immediate things in the next month or so, but there are some things that are going to be coming up in upcoming months, and we want you to be informed. Of course, we'll talk about it here, but you can always stay up to date on joefortunato.net, as well as go back and look at some older content as well.
Perfect. Joe Fortunato. Dr. Joe Fortunato joins us Fridays at this time on the morning show with Film School. Joe, as always, my friend, thanks for making time. Always appreciate it here on the show.
Thanks, Ray. See you next week.